It's a wonderful day, isn't it? And I want to say thank you for giving us your time and your presence. And of course, you watching TV is what keeps us going. My name is Elizabeth, and I want to start by saying Happy Valentine in retrospect. Yes, it was Valentine, and for us here, we want to say we love you. We love you so much. We appreciate your time each time you sit with us and have issues discussed with your contribution and questions as well. When I say we, you know what it is? Everyone is in the house. Yes, and we did a lot of things, and over the weekend, some people complained. That's okay. And as you're going to watch, please don't complain. But then I need to do an expose of what happened during the weekend for Valentine. When we come back, we'll explain why we did it. Director, if you're ready, can we play this? A lot of times, the Feast of St. Valentine is misunderstood as the prerogative of romantic couples alone, but it's far above that. We preach that in our conversation room, so we walk our talk. Yes, we decided to have our girls' time out on the 14th of February. That was Friday. It was fun, maximum if you ask. Most of us were held up at work, but Coach Didi typically arrived first.
Happy birthday, we go chop tire.
Yes, and jumped on the rest of us for coming slightly behind time. The diva, Devon, came in after me, and the group last born in punctuality matters came in last as usual.
One day we'll do this kind of thing.
Red was the color of the day, but rainbow was the color of the food.
Okay, you also want the premium room. Okay. My dear, what do you have?
Making the choice of what to eat is never easy in the face of so much in the menu and very tight budget. But the intention was to eat and eat and eat and eat. So we damned the budget and ordered with impunity. The food was good, so good. Joy couldn't help eating and dancing. Funky Hajia Coach Didi ate and danced along too, even though the hush pepper was real.
My mouth is on fire. Sorry when you start.
We had maximum fun at minimal costs. At the very end, we decided to have our day printed in colors. Photo shoot. With the teeming eyes of people, we struck different poses and enjoyed their commentaries as we took our pictures. Love is for everyone. Just spread it. I was actually enjoying that.
I did too.
All right. So I know that a lot of people
Bad belly,
you know,
them.
bad belly.
Bad
I didn't want to choose the
them.
word. The director, I can hear you. The engineer, I can hear you. All the things you said, but we just needed to make a statement. When we say we're celebrating love, it doesn't have to be with even your family. It doesn't have to be with your husband. It could be with your colleague. It could be with your, friends. It could be with the less privileged. You just spread out. Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I did. In a while now, I haven't had an opportunity to go out on Valentine's Day. Usually because, like, it's either somebody is busy doing one thing or the other and all this. Then if you're not careful, you just wind up stuck in the house, you know. So it was nice to have an outing with friends on Valentine's Day. That was nice. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. And I know that even that day you were stuck in your work. I had to call you, say, wow, it's time. I almost forgot.
Yeah.
And Coach Didi, your takeaway, you ate it this morning.
Just this morning, it was amazing, honestly. Shrimps, was it prawns? Oh my God. And you know, funny enough, when you told me, please come, we're meeting on Friday, we're ready. I did not even think, if you don't tell now, nobody did do me Valentine. Me, I don't even remember that thing.
How was the fish?
Oh my God. I couldn't even eat it there. I ate it at home, and it was fun, and I ate it with Ijebu Gari. Oh yes.
The roasted fish.
I tell you, I chop her with Ijebu Gari.
Ah, you don't even call
Oh
me.
my God,
No,
no, I'm telling you, the tea set well, but I won't lie to you. It was a different Valentine for me because it was. I always tell people it's not about a spouse or either a boyfriend or opposite sex. It was just women just being happy, and that's why I keep telling people, for your mental sanity, it's good to do that all the time. It doesn't have to be on Valentine's Day.
Okay. You know, talking about love, I often, wonder when we'll begin to draw lines, or how we'll begin to erase the lines we create as barriers to love. Because at the end of the day, while some people are celebrating, some people are actually crying. I think it was 2 weeks ago, someone wrote to us and was talking about how the mother was being maltreated after their father passed on, and at the moment she couldn't go to school. Unfortunately, I tried to reach the young lady to come on set last week. She did not. She proposed this week, which was why we decided to talk about this week. But then again, I reached out to her, and she told me her mother said, in her word exactly, let the dead bury the dead, let it go. And I pressurized. She said she did not want more issues with her family if she comes public. So I let it go. However, we want to look at the plights of widows, because it's something we think is not happening, but it is happening. And we have a lawyer joining us from another studio, Barrister Ogechi. She's actually a member of FIDA, but I'll let you say hello to us. Director, can you connect us to the barrister so that she can, say hello to the audience? Good morning. Can we get to, I just mentioned your name, but can you tell us your name yourself and who you are?
Well, my name is Ogechi Abu, like you rightly mentioned. I'm a legal practitioner here in the FCT with about 25 years of experience. I'm a past vice chair of the Nigerian Bar Association in Abuja, the Unity Bar, and in that capacity I was also the chair of the Human Rights Committee of the branch. I'm also a very active member of the International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA Nigeria, Abuja branch in particular. I've been National Publicity Secretary of FIDA Nigeria and then a branch secretary of FIDA Abuja. So I'm passionate about human rights and specifically women and children's rights in particular.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Ogechi Abu, and I'm glad we have you here because you have a lot of questioning and answering from us on this side of the divide. But before we delve into this topic fully, let's listen to the experience of someone I know personally, and she's a widow, and there's a lot of stigma going on around her, but how is she able to circumvent? Because you may not even know when you see her. It's a story of Susan Adamu. Susan?
Each time I hear people calling me widow, I don't like accepting it because I have built that faith for a very long time. I was carrying my daughter barely close to 2 years when I had the experience of losing my husband. On that fateful Sunday when I got a call that he was no more, I was in Abuja in Kuje and he was in Kogi State. And I was alone with my children that evening. In my mind, I look at myself, how am I going to end my life? Trying to cope with these children, they are in school. The experience was somehow very terrifying. One bad thing my late husband's younger sister did to me was, the call was so straight, direct call to me. Instead of using my family to call me that this is what has happened, but she just called directly, where are you, where are the children? She now said, just to tell you, my brother is no more, your husband just passed on. So I went to the floor and I fell down immediately. I started crying. My baby was still very little that time. We went for the burial, we came back to Abuja and to come and face life all alone. My family members too, most especially my mom, was there for me from day one, even up till now. Looking at my son now, is about 16 years. My daughter too will be 13. So if it is not God, who am I? Seeing my children growing with them and all of that, with all these problems face, even sometimes you see a lot of family members, even your co-workers, everybody. Sometimes people even mock you. To me, I have learned a lot of lessons, being a single mother, being a widow, carrying all my burdens alone and all of that. But I thank God for the kind of mother that I have. She was there for me. I was meant to mourn my husband for a whole year, wearing black clothes, which I did for that one whole year. One thing that serves as an encouragement to me, each time I'm upset, I always sing a song. And sometimes the kind of work I do too takes a whole lot of my time. Each time I cry, maybe how am I going to succeed, maybe paying their school fees and all of that. It's either God will use my mother to clean my tears, or somebody somewhere, somehow, God will always do. If there's anything I will do to keep myself happy, is to always look good. That's why whether I have or I don't have, I must ensure that I wear that smile on my face. If I go for any party, people may say she loves party. It's not as if I love going to party. It's just because I feel that's the only way I can associate to take myself, to go off the burdens in my heart. So I always go for events, different occasions like weddings, parties and all of that, so that I can associate. When I mingle, I return back home, I don't have anything to think of. Then talking about loneliness, yes, it's a must. When you lose someone, especially your husband, you will be lonely. So at times, I feel so lonely, maybe at night and all of that. But sometimes, because I have the kids around me, having my daughter around me gives me that joy that yes, you are not losing anything. You have somebody beside you. There was this therapy I worked on, which is singing songs. At every point in time, the administration will just come to just kill the moody aspect of my life, maybe especially when I think of him or all of that. You are too faithful to disappoint me. You proving yourself in my life, and I have come to realize you are too faithful to fail me. Anytime I sing all those emotional songs, there is that reflection that you don't need to remember it again, or it's just something that has happened, you must face it. So I continue to face it with joy. After that 1 year of mourning, I just pick up and I told myself, I have to move on. Some words just kept coming. For how long are you going to wait? If you wait even till the eternity, you will not see this man again. So why not move on with your life? Be strong for your children. Take care of them. If you are the type that is passing through this trauma, I want to tell you that with God, all things are possible.
The story just lowered my spirits to the lowest possible ebb. But then I'll try to bring it up, because the idea is to fight against this kind of trauma and even more. I don't know, have you had experiences of widows? I know you worked with BBC. I don't, in the course of your NGO, you've dealt with people like this, yeah. Widows.
My work at the BBC was mostly in HIV.
Okay.
And luckily, we had more survivors than people who were widowed. Good. Yeah. So I've not really had the opportunity of working closely with widows or orphans and vulnerable children and such. But of course, there are people in my family that are widowed and so on. I think for the most part, they handle it quite well. I'm lucky to come from the kind of family that, some families, or maybe, I don't know if it's a family thing, I don't know if it's a culture thing. In some situations, a woman is widowed and the family comes for her. They come for her, particularly if the man was well-to-do,
Rich.
was well off.
Dama,
They
if he's
come
poor,
from
what do
for
they
his
need?
property. They want, even if she has children, even if she has sons, they want to come and take the relatives, the brothers, but we don't have that in my family. I don't know anybody that has been widowed in my family that has been treated badly or shabbily by the family, coming for. In fact, I dare say that what happens is they have a fairly good support system. There are people who from time to time will say, the younger widow. I remember even last time when I was in Benue State, I recall my auntie called one of the ladies that was widowed and was asking her, has this person's school fees? So in my family, the widows that are there, I dare say they are treated well.
That's a good one.
Yes.
That's a good one. I don't know, Joy, do you share some story? I mean, some culture. I'm going to say my own people's culture when we're done. Some culture, it's very permissible when it comes to treating widows badly, and they're not doing it because in their head they are wicked. They just feel it's tradition. I don't know if you had the same experience.
Well, my father passed, and the difference there is that we're much older, and we're integrated into the family. We don't just stay in the city and just, you don't know anybody, you don't know your family and all that. And the thing here is you must have a support system, a good support system. Like I always used to tell people that if you're married, this thing about being married, me, my husband and my family and all that, in this society it doesn't work. 2 days ago, I just bumped into a movie I was watching. I think it was an Igbo family. And the man had an accident, so I think he lost his memory and they felt he was dead. I was watching and I was wailing. Yeah. The people that this man trained, the people that this same wife took care of, I couldn't believe what they were doing. They took the house, they took everything. They didn't even say, this man has kids. How do you take care of these kids? The only thing I heard that they're girls children. So he didn't have a man. He didn't have a boy, a male child. So why would they give him anything? But fortunately, even though she suffered, it was from wealth. They even left them in the village. They left them in the village. And you see, I was watching it and I always used to say that our writers, when they write movies, it's true life stories.
True.
You understand? And so many people are going through this kind of thing. And I think it has to stop.
When you were talking, I was thinking to myself, are you sure that movie was not based, on a story from somebody in my village? Because I always say we're matrilineal, in our heritage system. And not that it's completely bad. It has its own advantages and disadvantages. But for me, I would rather change it. Because what it means for a widow is at the demise of your husband. If you're not careful, the carpet is swept off you.
Yeah.
You're asked to leave the place, everything is taken by the family, because from time you entered, you were never a family.
Yeah.
So we always say, my husband is not my family member. So, and he knows that his children are also not his family member. What we call the equal system, So but it changes when the woman is not from Abriba. For instance, if anybody from Abriba decides to marry you, Devon, I know you're already married, but if they decide to marry you, automatically you're both wife and sister. So whatever he has, it's for two of you. Whatever children he has is for you and your children. But if it's within two Abriba people, it's from time.
What if you don't have kids?
If you don't have kids, if your wife does not have kids and the wife is from Abriba, whether you have kids or not.
So what if she's not from Abriba?
If you don't have kids, you still have entitlement, to his property. But I don't think it's all of it, anything that belongs to him within the village, it's yours and your children. But outside the village, maybe in the city or abroad, whatever he has, it's not, part of you. So I know that.
Does that make sense? Excuse me.
No, but
It's the
excuse
village
me
property.
now.
It's not me now.
It's
No,
village property that is for her and the
Hello?
children.
it's not you. It's not me.
The village that most of them don't go
Help me,
to.
oh. Help me, oh.
No, I just
Okay.
think.
Anyway,
know,
like I
things
said
have to
before I
change.
started the story, if I had my single pen to sign, I would
Yeah.
sign against it because it's not right. I've seen people who lived, within the grace, coming down to even below the grass, on the ground, because of such tradition. And sometimes it's done in such a way that, there is a lot of bitterness. If when the man was alive, the woman was not exactly liked, not because she didn't do anything what she was supposed to have done, they seem to carry out the anger on the woman. And where the family is not as rich as they deem to be, when the man passes away, the woman bears the brunt because they want to get rich by their families, by their brothers' wealth, leaving the family. And I think I want to go to the lawyer if it's possible. Can we still connect to Barrister Oge? I'd like to know, at a moment like this, given the scenario I have just painted, the matrilineal system, how can I begin to seek redress as a woman? I mean, sometimes you would have lived how many years with your husband, worked and acquired property together. How can I go about ensuring that I'm not, moved off what we had together?
Before I answer that question, can I just address the issue of stigma in the report that we saw, your colleague? Is unfortunate really that anybody in their right senses would stigmatize a widow. Yeah. Because what role do you have in finding yourself in that position? Yeah. That is an inevitable thing. And as we all know, nobody knows when death will come, when death will occur. So I think is a rather ridiculous situation that anybody would stigmatize a woman because she has lost her spouse. And I would encourage anybody in that situation to resist it, to challenge any stigma in that regard. And there are available options. You can, depending on the nature of it, you can go to court. If you cannot afford the services of a lawyer, organizations like FIDA, the NBA, the Human Rights Commission, the Legal Aid Council are all there. Even the Women Affairs, the Ministry of Women Affairs, they are all there to support you if you were to find yourself in a situation where you're discriminated against or stigmatized because you're a widow. So for the matrilineal picture you've painted is a very unusual culture. Of course, as you know, culture is dynamic and sometimes it is limited to a group of people. That practice is not a practice that I'm very familiar with, but yes, is a popular saying that that's what the Abriba people do. In my humble opinion, and this is not to denigrate the culture, I think is a culture that is not very humane. I wouldn't know the background. I wouldn't know the background. There must have been a background that led to the placement of that kind of culture. But I think that culture is also dynamic, and as we keep evolving, it may be time for the people that matter to sit down and review this again, because it's a very oppressive thing, in my own opinion, that you would exclude a woman and her children from inheriting their father. But when the wife is from a different place, when you marry an outsider or a foreigner, then it's a different thing. Even to my mind, I think that is even something that may also not encourage intermarrying.
Yes.
Because when you think about what that will mean for your wife and your children, you may not be very enthusiastic about marrying someone from a woman from Abriba like you. you know. So it's something that can be done. Culture is dynamic, it keeps changing. A few years ago, the leaders in Igbo land gathered to also deal with the Osu caste system. And as far as I know now, across Igbo land, nobody talks about the Osu caste system. So it's possible too that this particular practice, cultural practice, can be reviewed. But in the meantime, while that is yet to happen, there are different methods that can be deployed to, you know, deal with the harshness of the situation. I don't think that from your explanation, I believe it is every property that the man has that is subject to this culture. So if you're aware that this is the fate that can befall your wife and children, then in your lifetime, you can begin to ensure that your wife is empowered, that your wife owns most of the assets of the family, the children as well. Because if the assets are in your wife's name, in your children's name, I doubt that anybody can come and want to take them away. That would be something that you would go to court to challenge, and I don't know that anybody can, you know, find victory for that cultural practice. That's one. Another thing is that the culture itself can also be challenged in court as being obnoxious. And this is also the only way that we can make progress, that we can begin to achieve positive change. When you go to court to say, look, this culture is obnoxious, is discriminatory, you know, is against human conscience, is against public policy, and it does not make sense anymore. And I am very positive that the courts would not have any difficulty in striking down such a culture as being obnoxious. So if I know a lot of people don't have the stomach for litigation, you know, our judicial process is very tortuous, unfortunately. You will start from the High Court, you end up at the Court of Appeal, then you get to the Supreme Court. And in all of this time, some 15, 20 years might have lapsed, really. At least a minimum of 10 years, you know. So it may be wise for the woman to have more control of the matrimonial assets while the man is alive. And even with the plight of a lot of widows, at the bottom of it is also, at the foundation is also this issue of women empowerment. Because if a woman, you were to lose your husband, it does not mean that you will now necessarily fall into a life of penury. You only suffer that when you don't have any reasonable means of livelihood. Personally, my mom was widowed before she was 40, and she had 4 of us. If she was not a secretary, she didn't have a lot of education. Well, she had, at the time, in their time, it was usually teaching or secretarial services. And yes, she was in the secretarial line, you know, with all of their Pittsman, shorthand, qualification and exams at the time. And she worked with the New Nigerian Bank as a confidential secretary. And that job, only because she had that job, was the reason why we did not have to relocate to the village. Because in the union, my dad was the one who really had the financial power because he was an electrical engineer. But immediately he passed away, obviously. And that's what they keep talking about, family wealth. Because the money he had was based on salary, which inured to him as an employee. That source of income dried up immediately. But because she had that job that she had, you know, the only thing was that our lifestyle had to be downgraded. But she still managed to, you know, train all of her children. We did not have to really starve or, you know, be out of school and all of that. So at the root of the plight of a widow, apart from the fact that they come to take these assets and everything, which is also not proper, you know, because nobody has a right to do that, to come and dispossess a widow and her children. This issue has been settled by law, by statutory law, by case law. All of this have been settled. So a combination of all of these things will provide a better fate for a woman who finds herself as a widow.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister. Okay, that was quite deep, and I want to pray to God that some of the people who are listening will sit up and form a way of ensuring that some of those practices, are put to an end. And I'm particularly happy that you've mentioned a whole chain of people we can go to seek redress when we feel maltreated as widows, and people around should really sit up. But then somebody told me, specifically my supervisor, when we were having a conversation on this, who happens to be a Muslim, that the Muslim practice or the Quran actually spells out how this thing should happen. Hajia, you want to educate us on that?
Yeah, to be honest, for Muslims, the problem of in-laws and people coming to take over is not that serious, not that prominent. Yes, the most, because there is already we call it Sharia, there is a stipulated amount of money, a percentage that is accrued to every member of the family, including parents and everyone and relatives, some relatives dependent, siblings, if maybe the man didn't have sons, but his daughters inherit, everybody inherits. But the major problem, like she pointed out, or someone pointed out, is, again, if the man had his kin as next of kin, maybe his brother. So now that is not religion, but it depends on the individual. That's where we usually have problems, because then they now sometimes siphon the wealth, and start to give the kids stipends and things like that. But ordinarily, honestly, Muslim women hardly, according to Sharia, have a problem with inheritance. Except, of course, many men do not make their wives or children next of kin. They make their brothers next of kin. So that's usually where the problems comes in. But I tell people that, look, a lot of times, like she said something, and which is very profound. I'm a champion of mind and economic empowerment for women. Okay. The reason why you keep sitting down and wallowing and fighting over dead man property is because you don't have anything of your own.
True.
If you have something you are doing with your life, as a Muslim, we are taught that inherited property is like wood or fire. It burns because you didn't earn it. So it's not something that you look forward to make life with, to be honest. So most people don't even, well, I don't know, but many people don't look forward to having inheritance, because it's said that it's like wood, it will burn like fire because you don't earn it. So you are supposed to empower yourself, empower your mind, and earn your own money. If you are doing something, it's
I need
easier.
some clarification on this.
Yeah.
Let's say, for instance, does Sharia law supersede, let's say the Muslim is somebody who, is a practicing Muslim, but he wrote a will. Will Sharia law override that, or the will stand?
Yes, it does.
Okay, the Sharia law overrides the will.
Okay, so there's no point writing a will.
No, there's a point writing a will, but it's in the
next
Sharia.
of kin.
No, it's in the Sharia.
Okay.
There's amount of money, a percentage of your wealth that you can do whatever you want to within the will.
Oh, okay.
Only a percentage. The rest is according to Sharia.
Okay.
There are people who are supposed to inherit from you. Those, and maybe, like, for example, let me use, at the risk of sounding, some people have illegitimate children. I've had a few cases like that. An illegitimate child does not inherit in Islam.
Yeah.
So some people make provision.
Yeah,
within that percentage, I've heard of people who have willed some part of it to illegitimate children, or some of them, like you said, they have already given them something before their death. But usually your will must be within the Sharia.
Okay, still coming back to what you said, Coach, about women empowering themselves, which I think is very, very critical and important. We must recognize the fact that it's not everybody that will be able to escape poverty, no matter how hard they try. Then secondly, some women are unlucky enough to be married to the kind of person that does not allow them to get that empowerment. There are men that will sit on a woman's getting an education. If they don't do it by actually saying don't get an education, they'll make sure they put as many stumbling blocks as possible in her path. There are men who will frustrate the woman out of work. They will not say it. They won't say it. But you married this lady, she was a banker, you knew how grueling her schedule was and everything. But maybe you close and get home by 4 p.m. And by the time she gets home at 6 p.m., you are in a rage because your food was not ready when you got home at 4. And you know, the earliest she can get off work is 6:30. And it leads to abuse and other things. After a while, this woman is frustrated out of work. and you're not willing to support her to get something else. There are a lot of men who do this thing to their wives.
True.
Put her in a place of penury. And then everybody dumps shit on the woman's head. Oh, she doesn't want to work. She wants to sit pretty. She doesn't want to do this. And she cannot, it's not every woman that can come out and speak up and say, you knew me when I was single. Was this my story? What has changed? Most of them will not tell you leave work.
But
as you're having those children, they will expect you to do school runs. You are doing school runs and you have to be in the office. You have to go pick them up. After a while, nobody tells you to leave work.
True.
You know, and then you wind up fully dependent on this person who will also not empower you while empowering other women outside.
Sadly.
Yes, sadly. Which is what I think a lot of young girls nowadays are catching on to.
Yeah.
And now there's this whole thing of, I would rather be a side chico. There's no gain in being a wife.
My dear sister.
You know?
Baby mama.
Oh, baby mama. That baby mama even gets it better.
Even baby mamas, like, once that baby comes into the picture, whatever excitement was there wears off.
Not all. Not all. There are some really
all.
rich baby mamas. They are living large, living big.
But
about
for the
money.
most part, is that side chick who can give the fun
Yeah.
that keeps making the money, because she can provide fun while you are here tied up with babies, cleaning dirty nappies, cooking, cleaning, scrubbing,
Can I
getting
quickly
sweaty and
Can I
everything.
quickly answer that?
So the thing is, at the end of the day, I don't always dump on women that are in an incapacitated position by the time Oga passes. I don't know what that story was. Was she the one who just wanted to sit in the house watching TV? Or did that man make sure that she was not able to break free and have something of her own? Then if you go and look at, a few weeks back, we were talking about violence against women and girls.
Yeah.
There's a terrible trend in Nigeria where if the woman is significantly more empowered than the man, she runs the risk of losing her life.
Exactly. Like the
Many
one
of
that
such
killed
women
his
get
wife.
killed because the man wants control of her resources, which maybe she's not willing to cede. It leads to her death or constant violence, and then she has to leave.
Sure.
So it's a very, I'm not saying this to support women who are incapacitated.
Yeah.
By all means, try to get something going for yourself, because nobody knows tomorrow. But the truth is, there are some men who constitute themselves into a big stumbling block to make sure that this woman cannot progress financially, and it comes from a place of deep insecurity.
Let me quickly answer it. Now, you see, like you said earlier, yes, it's true. These things happen. But at the end of the day, you have a choice. You see, I think we relegate the power of our choices to the background. You are a banker, you are somebody who was doing well in your life, you decide to marry man has decided to take you out of it, or the children, whatever it is, you made a choice. See, wherever anybody is in their lives, because they're okay there. Even if they're not happy, they're miserable, but they are comfortable there because you made a choice. Man was more important than career, and it's okay. Another woman will not make that choice. She will say, oh, go, they go. I know they do. So it's a choice. So whatever choice we make, we'll have to bear the consequences of those choices.
All right,
And
so
not, sorry, one more minute. And then she said something about, the last thing you said about, oh goodness, I wanted to answer it though.
I said something about women being significantly
Thank
more
you.
empowered.
Listen, I'm going to say this on air. For the first time in my life, I told a class, marry your level.
Bagam.
Marry your level. I have seen women who have gone to marry men who were way below them, social class, economic class, and even education-wise. Yes, some of them worked out. Many did not.
Most will not.
Thank
Most
you.
don't.
So marry your level.
somebody just commented. They said, I think government should get involved because many widows are suffering. Because at the end of the day, if we don't change our laws, widows are constantly going to be affected. Somebody else wrote us here. It says, good morning, Auntie Lizzie. In a situation where the wife is not accepted by the parents of her husband, and eventually they kill their son just to punish the woman. Wow, that's extreme. And immediately he
It
passed,
happens sometimes.
they come after the entire property. What can the woman do? This is not my question. It belongs to the barrister.
Well, if they could kill their son,
They could definitely.
They can kill you.
Let
So
them
what
have
are
it.
you sticking around waiting
No,
for?
I don't think the barrister should answer. This is normal now. You already know you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
Because you just go.
No, but you see the
Yeah.
thing here is that from the onset you already know they don't like you. So if you know they don't like you as women, make sure that most of those things, those properties are in your name.
How can you
And
buy
what
it?
if
It's not
the
your
man doesn't
property.
want to
Thank
put
you.
them
It's
in
not
your
your
name?
property.
Will you hold a gun to his
Well,
head?
you see, okay, if the man has his property, then you have your own property.
Yeah,
because
that's
most
it.
women always join their husbands. You see, like I say things, you buy land, the man builds the house. Hello. When it's time for who collects the property, it's not who has the land.
Yes, how
because
the land, the paper.
no, it's the person who build the house. Because I have friends who are having that same
Come on,
wahala.
uproot your house now.
But that's but you see, so you say it's let me tell you, go and buy your own land and build your own house.
Exactly.
Don't build a house on somebody else's land because when time reach,
But I think you got it wrong. If the land belongs to the woman and the man built on it, the land belongs to
no,
her.
you see,
I mean, her husband land
Now
that she built.
yes, that she
now
built.
that's different.
So yeah, so you see what I'm saying. So and most of them they say we're together. Families don't. When the man dies, that's not what is going to happen.
True. It's important to have your will. And another person is asking,
Will sometimes have been. Look at what's happening right now. People that are supposed to be
prominent banker.
prominent,
Yeah.
enlightened. The old man is there. They are dragging. See, look, may God not make you get to that point.
Amen.
Where you see families, you will
Fight
be
over
wondering,
money.
are this? You go and work for your own money. Why are you looking at somebody else's money? So, education, enlightenment, and all that. The same thing the people are doing in the village, the people in the city are doing it likewise.
Let's visit more of our online contributors. Good morning. How can I watch your program later? All right, our program shows later on NTA series. It will be uploaded. And even right now, it's streaming. So you can join us if you're working or you're driving. You can take a listen. And another person says, I am a widow with 6 children.
Jesus.
It's a very difficult situation. We need assistance, and the barrister will talk to you later on this, on how to get assistance if you're being maltreated. This other one says, good morning, ladies. Very interesting discussion on women. I agree with the issues raised by Devon. So proud of you all in opening up on issues of concern for women. The career women also suffer serious violence at home.
Yeah.
Right? Thank you very much. That's pretty true. But then I went for a burial. A neighbor of mine passed on, and I went to attend the burial. That's the man now. When I got to the village, the car was parked a little bit far off. We had to trek into the compound. Passing by, I dashed my eyes to the side. I saw within a place that looked like a hallway, a woman tying white wrapper, sitting on a bare floor,
God.
and broken bottles around her,
Was she the widow?
and they were using parts of the broken bottle
For her hair,
to
to shave her hair. Yeah.
I nearly passed. I turned back again and looked. Lo, it was the woman who lost her husband.
Yeah.
Why broken bottle?
A knot went
No,
off my
that
head.
means she's the one that killed him.
Hey.
That's not. What even bothered me was the people doing this
Are women?
are women.
Yes.
I felt so angry.
Yeah.
I felt so angry. I went there. I thought I could make trouble and get her out.
Nah,
they
you
were
can't.
calling the village ancestors and
Yes.
a lot of things to come and
Yeah.
throw me
It's
out
women.
and curses on me. And the late curse, I let back anyway. So we carried on.
Liz, let
Why?
me ask you, why did you try to do it? You don't know that that's the culture of that place?
I didn't know. My
They
village
could have
don't
harmed
have
you
that.
real bad.
Seriously, they were angry.
I mean, this is a conversation you have by the side, like, why? But to go and interject in that moment,
That was the first time I was seeing such a thing.
I've never seen it at all. But at least I have enough cultural context to know that those
It's a
practices
cultural thing,
exist. I also know that there are cultures where the man's corpse will be washed and you're forced to drink the water.
I thought that was just
I
drama.
am not
No,
going
it was
to
not drama.
interject. I'm not going to interject in that thing if I don't have a whole army
But
behind
why doesn't
me.
it happen the other way?
Thank you.
But that's how the culture has always
Thank
been.
you. See,
Which is
thank
why
you.
the lawyer
Women-
is telling us that we need
women-
to go
How
and
many
challenge
women's
these
bodies
things.
have been
Women
washed and
have
given
to
to their husbands to
challenge.
drink?
Women, and you know the sad part here is that when I see the women doing it, and I'm like, what if when it gets to be your turn?
Yeah, but the thing
they're
is,
used to it in the
probably
culture.
the culture says that women should do it.
Yeah, most likely.
So it's not like they're doing it because, oh, that man's husband has died. Yeah, I get to shave her head. No.
No, but you see
You're
that
probably nominated to do it.
No, but you see that movie that I watched. Do you know what the mother of the daughter said, do you know you're a woman? When you get married and they do this thing to you, do you know the response of the lady? I will not marry from this village. But you are doing it to somebody else. It was her mother telling her, most people are not in supportive. They don't support what their husbands do, you know. But you see, the thing here is that the man is the head. So anything the man says, that's what we all ride with.
Okay. Another person says here, there people are not writing their number. I think it's WhatsApp. So it says his name is Nita Fingers. 100% true to what Devon said. I was a victim of that kind of marriage. He made me stop working, whereas he doesn't base here in Nigeria. He barely takes care of me, even while I was pregnant. I finally left that marriage.
He has another wife.
Parents.
Not necessarily.
Maybe not.
He has another wife
Maybe
abroad.
just a bad
Sorry.
person. There are people like that.
So let me get back to the lawyer too, because I'm having several messages in line with this. It may not be part of what we're discussing today, but it's still focused on what will happen if care is not corrected or care is not taken and this corrected. If I have a husband who is insisting that I should, stop working and be a full-time housewife.
Like I said, many of them don't say anything.
Or even he frustrates me out of this, like Devon says. Barrister, I'd like to know, what is there for me to do to ensure that I get paid for being a domestic engineer
in Nigeria,
in Nigeria, or what should be the discussion so that I can get my legal, backing in case of eventuality.
Let's hear. Let's learn.
This is I'm very glad that you've asked this question, because I was going to say that I completely align myself with Omi and her views. Ultimately, as women, I find that as women, we like to make a lot of excuses, and we don't like to take responsibility for our life and our actions. Devon identified a lot of issues that can arise, but ultimately, it is you as the woman who is making the decision. Yeah. What is your level of self-love? Self-love for yourself. And I find that a lot of times we place the man, the marriage over ourselves. Even when it is clear to you, the woman, and the world to see that this marriage is not a healthy marriage for you, it's not a toxic marriage. But we are so fixated on marriage that we always put ourselves last. And that is how we find ourselves in a lot of these avoidable situations. So squarely to your answer, to your question, no man whatsoever in the name of a husband, in the name of a marriage, has a right to dictate to a woman whether to work, whether not to work, or to force you to leave a job. In fact, it is prohibited by law, and it is considered as forced financial dependence / economic abuse. That's what it is. And we have here in the FCT and across all the states what we call the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. Here in the FCT, that law has been in place since 2015. And the law specifically categorizes that conduct as a form of violence. As I said before, and the name for that particular type of violence is forced economic dependence / economic abuse. That's what it is. That's the form of violence, and the law prohibits it. It's actually punishable by 2 years imprisonment or a fine of 500,000 naira or both. Yes, and I can give you a typical life case that last week we were in court. A young lady who works with one of the international institutions, multi-international institutions here in Abuja. They had just relocated about 2 years ago. No, about 3 years ago from one of the states in the southeast, the southwest, and she came here with her husband and 3 children. He was not working. Even when they arrived, so they relocated to Abuja when she got that opportunity. Now, when they got here, he refused. He looked for a job, he couldn't find. He was not, he refused to do anything really until he got the job he felt was to his standard. Luckily, sometime in November last year, October last year, he got a job with one of the big companies in Lagos, so he relocated. Do you know that by December, he had only done this job in October, November. By December, he started troubling her to resign her job here in the FCT and relocate with the 3 children to Lagos. And she says to him, you have only done this job 2 months. You're still on probation. You have not even been confirmed. I have a firm contract till 2027. This job has sustained us for the past 3 years. Now you earn half. He earns about 750,000 naira with his new job, while she earns about 1.7 million naira per month. And he insisted that, look, you either quit that job. If you won't quit that job, I am going to come to Abuja to take the 3 children away from you. And immediately she came, we rushed to court to get what you call a protection order under the VAP Act, because he has no right to inflict that kind of violence on her. But you see that she took ownership of her life and decided, look, yes, this is a marriage, I love you and all of that, but I have to love myself first. This job is more important to me for the welfare of myself and my children. You know, you have this job, you have been in Lagos only 3 months, there's no security, but you want to assert yourself as so-called man of the house, head of the family, you know. So we need to begin to take more responsibility as women. You need to begin to assert yourself and also begin to demand and enforce your rights. One of the comments talked about laws. We have more than enough laws in Nigeria to protect women. Between the VAP Act I have mentioned to you, the Child Rights Act, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, all these laws that I have mentioned provide sufficient, very elaborate protection for women. But how many women are willing to activate those laws?
What I gather, a lot of people are actually writing the same thing. Somebody says, I'm that banker you're talking about. I left my job for marriage, 2015 till date, no job, nothing. Now you know that you can actually seek for, you know, your rights to be restored by taking your husband to court. But when you do that, I don't know if you're going to go back to the house.
You see, let me quickly add something. She said something about, you see, the thing about spirituality plays a huge role in our lives. I am Muslim. I work.
Okay.
My husband is the head of the family.
True.
That's it. And it's with the permission of our husbands that we work. And back to what the lawyer said, it's true. That's why we have choices. If your husband does not want you to work, you cannot work. Simple. There's no need to go to court to go and start waiting. Because even if you do go to court, the marriage has ended. If you carry your husband go court, say he was work, should be the marriage don't end still. Okay. So I think spirituality plays a huge role. So it boils down to you. You want to work, there's a way you can follow man. Like, okay, Ogami, help me, I can do this, you know. So, but it doesn't have to go to court.
It's all right. So final words from Joy. We don't have time anymore.
We have to talk about this again because the time is too short because widows are going through hell.
Okay, thank you. Devon?
Well, I dare say that I think men should strive to marry women they trust so that they can have an economic bond. It matters for the day that one person passes on and leaves the other behind.
It's important, and I'll just go with the last one of the comments here. There's something that we'll try to answer behind camera. Good morning. Like the Muslim lady said, Quran takes care of all aspects of inheritance in whatever situation. Again, wills are also taken care of in Quran chapter 3. Allah has instructed us on how to share inheritance, and Prophet of Islam has clearly instructed on the concept of will. Musa Sariki, and you're commenting from Gwagwalada. Thank you, Musa. And the rest of the people who are asking, we will be, uploading this video on NTA series. You can watch it on YouTube, and of course on our WhatsApp. We'll also give you the link to continue to watch. Somebody says, she please tell the lawyer I love her. That'll be the last comment. Barrister, they say they love you. Bye-bye for now.